Sorry. Yeah. There's still a few folks back there.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. It is a little after 9, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I know there are some folks signing in, but I will start with my opening presentation so we can stay on time. My name is Tess Stovall. I serve as the Executive Director of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. I will be the one who's presiding at today's hearing. First, I want to thank the representatives from Rutherford County Schools as well as Rocketship Public Schools for being with us today. We know the length of time that takes for an application process, an application review process. We also know that the appeal process takes on additional time. And so I just want to thank you all for your work so far and your commitment to this process. We at the Commission take our responsibility when it comes to ensuring that only the highest quality of charter schools are authorized in Tennessee very seriously. This is one of 6 appeals that's currently before the Commission. We review and handle each appeal independently in accordance with the requirements in statute. Tennessee Code Annotated 4913-108 allows a charter school whose amended application has been denied by a local board of education to appeal that decision to the Charter Commission. So in this case, Rutherford County Schools voted to deny the amended application of Rocketship Tennessee 4 on July the 24th. Rocketship then appealed that denial to the Commission, which we received on August the 4th. Notice of this meeting was posted on the Commission's website. It was given to both parties. It was also published in the Daily News Journal on September the 5th. And it was given to any individual interested in public meetings of the Commission, as this meeting is open to the public. Pursuant to statute, in an appeal, the Commission shall conduct a de novo on the record review of the proposed charter school's application to determine if the local board's decision was contrary to the best interests of the students, the LEA, or the community. To fulfill the Commission's charge and responsibility by law, in addition to this hearing, a committee of qualified individuals will conduct a de novo review of the amended application and, using the state scoring rubric, will independently rate the application. That committee will also conduct a capacity interview with the proposed governing board to assess their capacity to open and operate the proposed school. That committee prepares a report, which I then consider in making my recommendation to the Charter Commission. The Charter Commission then meets to review my recommendation, which will include the findings of this hearing, any public comment that we receive, the review committee's report, and a full review of the record, which includes all information submitted by the local district, as well as all information submitted by the sponsor. Pursuant to Commission policy, the Commission has to consider my recommendation, but they are not bound by my recommendation. If the Commission finds the application meets or exceeds the metrics outlined in the Department of Education scoring rubric, and that approval is in the best interest of the students, the LEA, or the community, then the Commission may approve the charter school. If the Commission approves the charter school application, then the Commission will become the authorizer in the LEA of the school. And that is unless the local board of education and the charter school mutually agree for the local board to be the LEA and authorizer. In this case, the Commission will make a decision on the Rocketship Tennessee 4 appeal during a meeting on October 16th of 2025. That meeting will be held in Nashville and is open to the public. It will also be live streamed. So information about that meeting, how to watch online, how to attend that meeting will be on the Commission's website. I'll start with a quick overview of how the hearing will run this morning. We will begin with opening presentations, and both the local board and the sponsor will have up to 15 minutes to present. I will then take the opportunity to ask questions of both the local board and the sponsor. We will then move into public comment. So as previously shared on the agenda, individuals who have registered in advance with the Commission will be recognized for public comment. We allow up to 10 individuals speaking in support of approving the application and up to 10 individuals speaking in support of the district's decision to deny the application. Only those individuals who've registered in advance will be able to share their comment today. It is important to note that if we do have an individual who is not here, we cannot transfer slots, and we cannot have individuals read another individual's comments into the record. This is to ensure consistency across all of the public hearings that we conduct. We do have 9 individuals who've signed up to speak today. We have 1 in support of the district's decision to deny the application and 8 who've signed up to support approving the application. When we get to that point in the hearing, on a slide, we will list the individuals' names who've signed up for public comment. I will call those individuals up and you will come up to this podium and you will be given up to 2 minutes to give a statement. It is important to note that the commission accepts written comment on any appeal. And if anyone who's giving a public comment here today, or if you wanted to give a comment and were unable to sign up, we encourage you to submit your comment directly to the Charter Commission. Information about how to submit a comment is available on the agenda. You're also welcome to leave a written comment with a member of the staff today. We will accept comments for the next week on this appeal to be included in my recommendation in the full record on this appeal. After public comments, we will move into closing statements. So we will first turn to the local board and then the sponsor, who will be allowed up to 10 minutes for a closing statement. We are recording this hearing, and a copy of this recording will be given to all commissioners in deciding on this appeal. We also are taking notes for our record. So we are going to begin with opening presentations. I will first turn to representatives from the local Board of Education for your opening statement, and then the sponsor. Please do introduce yourself for the record as you begin speaking, and you will have up to 15 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Jeff McCann. I'm the coordinator of choice and charter schools here in Rutherford County. We'd like to welcome members of the commission to our facility today, along with memberships of the leadership team and support people for representing Rocketship Schools. Welcome. Glad to have you with us today. I'd like to start out simply, first of all, I do have to introduce our newest staff member who's on her 5th day on the job as our new charter specialist. So our office of 1 is now offered an office of 2. So I'm super excited to have Mindy Walters with us in support of our charter portfolio. I'd like to start out by just reviewing the evaluation process that Rutherford County went through with Rocketship. After receiving their initial application at the 1st of February, the appointed committee engaged in a very rigorous review of that application and scored it via the state scoring rubric to provide a report to our board. And on April 24th, the RCS Board of Education voted to deny Rocketship's initial application, again based on the findings of the review committee. On June the 2nd, we did receive the amended application submitted by Rocketship Schools. And the same appointed committee engaged in the same rigorous review of that application between June 4th and July 16th, developed a report to provide our board, and on July 22nd, that report was presented publicly at the Board of Education work session, and on July 24th at their regular called meeting, the Board of Education voted again to deny the amended application, and upon which Rocketship Schools obviously appealed to the Charter Commission, which brings us here today. The final resolution drafted by the Board of Education stated that the applicant, Rocketship Tennessee number 4's amended application to former charter schools hereby denied, and the grounds for that denial were the board adopts the findings of the Charter Review Committee concerning the application. So they did agree with the findings that the board or that the Charter Review Committee found. So let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, let's say who was on that Charter Committee. Here's a list of those that served in that capacity. I served as the chair of that committee, as I am the coordinator of choice and charter schools. And then we filled the committee with various experts from the central office in different departments, including operations, federal programs, special education, accounting, instruction. The committee included 2 local elementary school principals, 2 parent representatives that were chosen at random via a volunteer parent survey that was sent out, which we had, I think, around 160 respondents, and the 2 were chosen at random. And then finally, Francis Rosales, our Rutherford County School Board member who served as a part of the committee per board current policy that requires a member of the board serve on the review team. Here's the summary that the committee presented to the board. They recommended denial of the amended application for Rocketship Tennessee because they failed to meet or exceed the criteria of the rubric in 3 out of the 4 areas. They were rated as only partially meets the standard for academic plan and design, financial plan and capacity, and portfolio review and performance review. The committee did state that they met or exceeded the standards for the second one, operations plan and capacity. Unfortunately, the ratings have to be meets or exceeds for all 4 in order for us to recommend to the board that they be approved. The board doesn't have to follow that. They can approve if they wish, but that was the recommendation from the committee because they did not meet or exceed the standards in all 4 areas in our mind. Okay? So what were those concerns? Why did we say that they did not meet the standards? First of all, in Section 1, Academic Plan and Design, we had concerns over their 4 content block schedule and the fact that it was very unclear in the amount of time provided for science and social studies instruction. If you looked carefully into it, it was only 9 to 18 minutes per day for both of those. And they had no additional curricular materials for social studies. Both subjects are to be embedded in their STEM and humanities blocks. And with no separate curricular materials for social studies. That would be that they said they would teach state standards via their reading curriculum. Now, understand there is no accountability at the elementary level for science and social studies, technically, but once those students left the school and reported to one of our district middle schools, they would then be held accountable for both of those subjects. And we felt like that the lack of instruction for science and social studies would result in some learning gaps, making it very difficult for students to demonstrate mastery for those 2 subjects at the middle school level. We felt the plan for ELL services contained a few errors, many of which were corrected between the initial and amended application, but there are still some inaccurate service levels indicated. The term modifications, we prefer to use accommodations. You can't really modify the curriculum, but you can accommodate, but their plan called for modifications. Some incorrect screening deadlines, and I'll give you an example of that. The plan called for a 30-day window to screen any new and incoming students whose response on the home language survey indicated that they might need ESL services, which is in accordance with state law, but the state ESL guidebook says that's only for the first 30 days of school. After the first 30 days of school, that window drops to 2 weeks, 10 school days. And that was pointed out after the initial application, but that was not corrected for the amended application. There's a clear focus on life skills development with their plan, their submitted plan, which may not align with our Board of Education stance on social emotional learning. To their credit, they did change between the initial and amended application. They changed the wording from social emotional to life skills development, but the plan did not change, nor did the curriculum that they had chosen to use change. So, but our board has in the past typically not been in favor of social emotional learning being provided in Rutherford County schools. Also, we felt like the Rocketship education success rates did not match RCS's typical success rate data. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know that's a question that the commissioner was going to ask about whether or not their data was compared to all Rutherford County schools or just the Smyrna-Laverne area schools, which is where the school intends to locate. And the answer is yes to both. It was compared to both. This was the statement that was included in the report, that the 23-24 average success rates for all students group of RCS schools in the Smyrna-Laverne area were reported as 38.8% for ELA, 40.1% for math, and then the local Rocketship schools report success rates of 20.6 to 26% for ELA and 10.3 to 39.6 for math, which is quite a wide spread. And this information was provided as part of the recommendation to the board. So they did see comparison with local schools. Let's delve into that just a little bit more. Here's an overall success rate comparison. When we say overall success rate, we're talking about a combination of math and ELA. I have the data for 23-24, and you'll see that the 3 local Rocketship schools had a success rates of 14%, 26, and 31, which is an average of 22% success rate. The Smyrna-Laverne schools average was 40, and I did include the RCS average of 50% because our performance frameworks do call for a comparison of their data to overall RCS data. Our performance frameworks do not compare just to local schools. They compare to the entire district. And in our success rates for 24-25, I don't have those for the Rocketship schools. That's not public yet. but I do have it for our schools, and it maintained that same consistent pattern of 40% for those local schools, 51 across the district. Another concern they had was the lack of community support and demand for the school itself. You're looking at a report from a survey that was sent out to the public via email to all Rutherford County parents via our school messenger system. It was also posted on our school website, our district website, and social media. We received 532 respondents to that survey, which was live from February 12th through April the 1st. And of those 532 respondents, 80% answered no to the question, do you fully support the approval of the new charter school application submitted by Rocketship Tennessee number 4. 20% reported to be in favor of that. And that survey itself did contain direct links to the application itself, and respondents were encouraged to review that application before they responded to the survey. I know that was one of the questions the commissioner had as well. Along those lines, I think it's important here to look at enrollment trends for that area. That was another question that the commissioner was going to ask. And you'll see here, I think it's easier to see it visually. That's why I put it in the presentation. Right now, Smyrna Laverne schools are at 94% capacity, but there are 586 seats still open and available for that area. There are only 2 schools at or above capacity right now, Laverne Lake Elementary and Stewart's Creek Elementary. You'll see highlighted in yellow there. And if we look at forecasted for growth, we typically go with a 3.5% because that is commensurate with what we would typically grow from year to year, which could get the schools to 98%, but there's still about 350 open seats in the Smyrna Laverne school area. Add to that our current charter school enrollment, which was a question I know the commissioner had. You'll take a look. Springs Empower and American Classical Academy of Rutherford both opened in 24-25. Springs opened with 171 students. Their projection was only 150, but their facility would accommodate more than that. So they were able to enroll 171 in their first year. American Classical only enrolled 202 out of their 340 projected seats. Both schools show enrollment growth for the 25-26 year. Springs Empower right now is at 225, with their projection being 250, so they're just a little under projection now. American Classical is up to 358, and their projection is 390. They're just a bit under as well. And you'll see at their at capacity numbers, 800 and 690. Both schools did add an additional grade for 25-26. And keep in mind, too, we have approved another charter school to open in the same area, Nova Smart Academy, which is projected to open with 192 students in grades K and 1 in their first year, adding 96 each year thereafter. Okay? Let's go on to Section 3, the financial planning capacity. The concerns were that the budgeted staff numbers resulted in a higher pupil-teacher ratio than 25-1, which the initial application and the capacity interview indicated that would be their limit, 25-1. However, when the amended application came back, it stated that they would be requesting a waiver of class size ratios, which is typical for what they've done at a lot of their other schools. We understand that. But the result would still be classes larger than state pupil-teacher ratios, which our board is not necessarily in favor of. We were concerned that there was no school counselor included in the budget. I know that typically charter schools can waive that requirement, and that's very typical, but we feel like in this area of the county, well, first of all, Rutherford County places a lot of importance in the role of school counselors in the building. And in this particular area of the county, with a high level of students experiencing trauma, we feel like counselors are a vital component in schools, in our district. Okay. Now, just included as an FYI, because the board asked for it, you see our funding, the funding impact for year 1 and year 5. They did want to know those numbers, but there was very little discussion of that from the board on the final voting meeting. But they did want to see those numbers, and I presented them, so I included them in the presentation today. And then finally, Section 4, that portfolio review and performance record. We did have concerns upon reviewing annual reports from local authorizers. We did have some concerns that showed some fluctuating success rates, chronic absenteeism being a concern where sometimes they were listed as does not meet, as so they did in credentialing, which tells us maybe they were not able to secure teachers with sufficient licensing or credentialing. And as a result, they had some does not meet indicators in those areas. Same thing for student suspension rates and other obligations. And then finally, that we mentioned before, the ownership of underperformance or denials from a local district, and we'll talk about that in the question section when there's a little more time. Okay. So the final summary from the committee was that Rocketship Tennessee we recommended to deny their approval based on those instructional concerns over science and social studies, that apparent lack of community support, deficiencies in the written ELL plan, those recent denials by another local authorizer. That did occur in section 2, which we did rate as meets or exceeds, but those denials were a concern of the committee and the board. Those high pupil-teacher ratios and performance not being on par with typical results for Rutherford County schools. Any questions on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you for that opening statement. We'll now recognize Rocketship Public Schools for your opening statement. You will also have up to 15 minutes for your presentation.
Good morning. My name is Eric Daly, the Executive Director for Rocketship Public Schools, Tennessee. Before I start, just maybe a little bit of housekeeping. We've got some Rocketship staff members who do require interpretation, and so there will be interpretation happening for many of our Spanish-speaking families today. Thanks again, Rutherford County, for opening the doors to your space today, and thank you to the Commission for what we believe has been a thorough review of our application and the opportunity to share publicly our case for why Rocketship Tennessee 4 deserves approval. I'll start today really by sharing 3 things over the next 15 minutes. First, just a reminder of the mission of our charter school and its track record of success over the last 10 years. I'll then move to share a little bit more about the need of another high-quality school option here in Rutherford County. And then finally, we'll cover our application and why we believe that we meet or exceed the standards outlined by the state to have authorization to stand up another charter school. So first, Rocketship Public Schools has been around here in Tennessee for more than a decade, and its mission is very clear: to initiate transformational change in low-income communities through scalable and sustainable public school models. That model hinges on 3 major pillars: driving student achievement, developing exceptional educators, and partnering with our parents. You'll hear a little bit more from each of those constituencies today during public comment. Our vision is also clear: equal access for all students, no matter where they live in a county, no matter what county they live in. And our track record for the past 10 years, not perfect, but certainly strong. We serve more than 90% Black or Latino students. North of a third of our students are English language learners, and our special education population continues to grow. It is public record that this network for the last 10 years has received various reward status designations at level 4 or 5 designations as well, based on our state assessment data. So for the past 10 years, we believe we have done a strong job of ensuring that students in Nashville have access to a high-quality education. I'll just name that is that record that has allowed us to have all 2 of our schools renewed for an additional 10 years, and our most recent campus entering its 4th year as a high-quality school option in the Antioch community. Importantly, elevating academic performance for all of our students is at the core of our work. You'll see here historically underserved students at Rocketship Dream Community Prep consistently outperform their district counterparts in Metro Nashville. Those are economically disadvantaged students, English language learners, and students of color. It is worth noting that we leverage the data from Rocketship Dream Community Prep as our replication school, given its proximity to Rutherford County and its similarities in student demography. And so you'll see the purple line representing Rocketship Dream and the dotted line representing their peers in Nashville. For each of those student subgroups, average about a 20% difference in Rocketship's favor, which demonstrates our ability to serve students who historically are underserved. Also importantly, this was referenced by Dr. McCann and the committee. Rocket Ship Tennessee has 3 schools serving different groups of students across the city of Nashville. And almost every year, we have received level 4 or level 5 designations by the state given our performance. Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast being our flagship campus, Rocket Ship United Academy, and the Rocket Ship Dream Community Prep. I will talk a little bit more about Rocket Ship Nashville Northeast as we go through the presentation today, but there should be no doubt that Rocket Ship Tennessee, for the past 10 years, has done right by students in Nashville, and that is borne out by the data presented by the state. And then finally, the work that we do in Nashville is not simply unique to Nashville, it is unique to a model that we believe is rooted in research. And so not only are we serving students in Nashville, we're also recognized nationally for the work that we are doing and the model that we are leveraging in our classrooms. This is a quick study from Stanford, Credo report that suggests we are one of a few national networks of charter schools that are implementing a model that is busting the achievement gap for students, particularly students that we serve here in Nashville. I will not sort of bore you with the analytics here, but it is worth noting. On average, Rocket Ship students receive an equivalent of 96 additional days of learning and reading and 138 additional days of learning in math. That is because of the model that we're implementing in our schools, not only here in Nashville, but across the country. Second section I'd like to turn to here is the need that we believe exists here in Rutherford County for another high-quality elementary school. You do not have to take our words for there being a need, an urgent need in Rutherford County for a high-quality school option. There's a 2023 report that Rutherford County School Board commissioned, RSP and Associates, that suggests that very thing, that population growth in this county is causing strain on existing schools, and that despite efforts at rezoning, it will not solve the problem. And so you'll see 2 direct quotes from that report in 2023 that suggests that many current facilities in Rutherford County are overutilized and are not providing the ideal learning environment. You'll also see here to the right that more district facility space is needed to achieve long-term solution. Those are not Rocket Ship's words. Those are the words of RSP and Associates, a staffing consulting group commissioned by the school board here in Rutherford County. There was an updated report in 2024, so not any more than 12 months ago, that confirmed the 2023 report, much of which we used to analyze need in Rutherford County during the application process. That report projects that elementary enrollment in Rutherford County will increase by more than 1,000 students by 2029 and 2030. That's a net increase. Dr. McCann shared the overutilization of many of the schools in Smyrna and Laverne. Add on top of that 1,300 students because of population growth here in the county. 3 of the 4 schools that report identified as having capacity challenges are in the Smyrna area and are schools that we would directly be in proximity to and ideally support, and they're listed there. And then finally, this report confirms what the school board shared during their final vote, that Northwest Rutherford County is at strain and at capacity and is experiencing significant residential growth, impacting schools, particularly elementary schools. All of that sort of legalese talk is widely known in Rutherford County. It is widely known by Rocket Ship, and I believe by Rutherford County schools, that the need for more high-quality schools options is important and necessary, and we believe that Rocket Ship is one way of helping to alleviate those capacity constraints here in the county. Dr. McCann mentioned a little bit about performance. This demonstrates 2023-2024 data. And as we call out in our application, we leverage Rocket Ship Dream Community Prep as our replication school because of its similarities in demography, because of its proximity to Rutherford County, and our expectation that it will serve generally a similar population of students So we do not average the scores of all of our 3 schools. We are comparing Rocketship Dream Community Prep to the other elementary schools that are closest in proximity and in demography. And you will see here that Rocketship Dream Community Prep, entering its 4th year, outperforms most Rutherford County elementary schools in the Laverne Smyrna area. Rocketship Dream Community Prep, level grade B in 2023-2024, a level 4. And you will see to the right of that chart the significant increase in students based on demography, specifically those who are historically marginalized in our community. So 40% English language learners, 30% economically disadvantaged, north of 10% of students with disabilities. So while serving a higher population of high-need students, Rocketship Dream Community Prep continues to outperform many of the elementary schools in the Laverne Smyrna area. And then finally, let me close with a quick review of our application. Again, respect the recommendation of the Rutherford County review team, and also appreciate the opportunity to perhaps clarify a couple of elements of their findings report. First section, academic plan and capacity. We want to simply highlight that we have a strong track record of effectiveness, specifically with English language learners and their achievement. You'll see these 2 charts that demonstrate at least 2 data points: percent of EL students who meet their WIDA growth targets compared to the district, MNPS, and percent of students who are exiting our EL program. Dr. McCann mentioned the critique of fixed time blocks for science and social studies. I believe it is now on the record that that is not a requirement. We do not believe that preferences should dictate approval or denial of an application. And then there was some mention of science and social studies, particularly social studies. We leverage high-quality instructional materials at all of our schools, and we believe that the leveraging of those resources, particularly for social studies, CKLA Amplify, much of that content aligned to Tennessee State guidance is being provided to all of our students daily. It is also important to note that science is an enrichment course in our schools, and students are receiving well more than 12 minutes of that instruction each day in our schools. Finally, operational plan and capacity. The committee rated this as meets or exceeds. Clear governance, hiring, training, and startup. There was some mention of perhaps difficulty in hiring teachers or training teachers. This operational plan suggests that we have been able to do that well in the past. And criticism of past denials. It's also important to note that we won 2 successful state appeals, and during that same time were renewed by a local authorizer, Metro Nashville, for an additional 10 years. So we would hope that we don't misuse the legal route of renewal and appealing to the state as evidence of us not being operationally sound. Financial plan and capacity. We've been around for 10 years. We have clean audits. We are fiscally stable. During our capacity interview, we stated that at the end of, I believe, our 3rd year, we would have net income running our school here in Rutherford County. I believe we were the only one who could suggest that. Also, there were some minor differences around teacher-student ratio and whether or not we call it a social worker or a counselor. Those are sort of legal, and also is the reason we have charter schools to innovate and not simply duplicate what is happening in local school communities. And it is our belief that much of that evidence was misused to rate this part of the plan as partially meets. And then finally, portfolio review, and we look forward to talking a little bit more about our portfolio during question and answer. We believe that Rutherford County Schools fixated on one school for 1 year, as opposed to reviewing our full portfolio that suggests very clearly that for the past 10 years, we have performed well for all of the students that we have served in Nashville. We acknowledge the recent dip in performance at our Nashville Northeast campus, and we look forward to talking a little bit more about how we are intervening there. But it is important to note that that is an exception and not the rule, and the data does not support that as being the rule. Most of our schools have earned a level 4 or 5 each year. You'll see this quick chart here with updated data from 24-25, where each of our schools improved their TBOS composite level for the 24-25 school year. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit more here about our intervention plan for Rocketship Nashville Northeast, making sure we've got the right people in the right places, new investments in academics, and targeted network support for coaching and development. Why do we believe those things are important, and why do we believe they're working? Because the evidence to start this school year suggested we are 95% to our budget enrollment target. More than 70% of our home visits have been completed, ensuring parents are partners in the education that we're offering, and we've seen a year-to-year increase in daily average attendance. Very quickly, and I know I'm at time, we believe we meet or exceed the standards outlined by the state based on the application that we amended and submitted. We also believe that Rutherford County misapplied some of the guidance of the rubric, and we gracefully ask that you approve our appeal to Open Tennessee 4. Thank you.
Thank you to both Rutherford County and also Rocketship for that opening statement. I'm now going to dive into questions that I have for both parties. We're going to start first with Rutherford County Schools, and then we'll switch to Rocketship. And I know you all addressed several of my questions in your opening statement, but I do want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the questions that I have. So the first one I want to start with is enrollment, and it may be helpful if we could just switch to that slide that y'all had just for visuals. Thank you. So from my understanding, the two highlighted in yellow are the ones that are oversubscribed. Geographically, can you share, are those in the same general geographic region? Are those different parts of that region? Can you share more about those oversubscribed?
They're really in different parts of that region. Lamar Creek Elementary is in the very north end of the county, just over the line from Davidson.
Okay.
And Stewart's Creek Elementary is more in the central Smyrna area.
Okay. And
Different demographics for both areas for the most part.
okay, thank you. And can you confirm, you said how many open seats that you all currently have in that region? You stated, I just want to make sure.
586.
586. And then from a projected standpoint, where are you
It
guys?
was around 350.
Okay. And what is that time frame, the 350?
That could be for next year. That's a 3.5% growth.
Okay.
Each year we've experienced that typically, not always, but typically in the past.
Okay.
In the past, that's what we've used is 3.5.
Thank you. And then I think one of the next slides you have is around current charter school enrollment. And for my own clarity, I think there's a note at the bottom. So both schools are currently serving K-6.
They
Is
are.
that correct? Okay.
Correct.
And can you confirm what is the grade span that Springs and Power is approved to at full capacity? Is it K-8?
K-8, both schools are K-8.
Okay, thank you. My next question is around the survey that you all sent out and that you shared in terms of the 80% of residents or respondents reported not being in favor of approving the application. And so I want to make sure I confirm that you shared this was sent out to all Rutherford County parents and that there were copies of the application included as well.
Yes, there were links to each school's application that were involved in the survey.
Okay, great. And so for my clarity, both schools were surveyed separately and both links were, okay.
They were.
Okay. You shared, or the district shared in that, and you talked a little bit in the opening presentation around concerns around failure to show ownership of previous denials. Can you explain more about what the district was looking for with regard to previous denials by the operator and what you would have liked to see in order to be able to rate that as meeting the standard or satisfy criteria?
Great question. The committee would have hoped to have seen statements in the application that indicated recognized shortcomings in those particular schools that were denied and what could be done differently at the proposed school in Rutherford County to ensure they didn't have the same results.
Thank you. And as you shared in your opening statement, that the district did evaluate both overall proficiency of Rutherford County schools as well as the proficiency levels of the Laverne Smyrna area. The sponsor also shared data that potentially reflects that there's a lot of variability in that data across that area. Just would like to hear the district's response on how did they evaluate kind of performance across all of those schools in that area.
They looked strongly at the success rates, the achievement levels, and I know a lot of the data presented by Rocketship was growth, which is a very important component in Rutherford County as well. But we looked mainly at the differences in success rate.
Thank you. And I think that concludes my questions for the district, since you all covered a lot of that in the opening presentation, which I very much appreciate. So now we're going to turn to questions I have for Rocketship. And similar, that I was going to start with enrollment, that we have, one of the things that we've talked about in this hearing is questions around enrollment. Would like you to provide more information about how you all are using what is quoted as wait list information for your current schools as a demonstrated demand for a new school when it is in a different district.
Yeah, so all of our schools currently operate near or at capacity in Nashville. The reference to wait list is important because it demonstrates the strength of our brand, and we believe the strength of that brand transfers county to county, particularly Rutherford County, given its proximity to one of our existing schools. It's also important to note there are, in the past 3 years, about 100 Rutherford families have applied to Rocketship schools, all of which we have not accepted. We believe that those families would still benefit from a school here in Rutherford County. We have more than 24 Rocketship staff members, many of whom are here today, who live in Rutherford County, who would want nothing more than to serve their local community. Those staff members have networks and relationships with people in Rutherford County who we believe will be ambassadors for this school. So the wait list reference is a demonstration of the strength of our brand and the subsequent 100 applications of Rutherford families, staff members who live here in Rutherford County but work in Nashville. It's all more reason we believe that we would be able to enroll in this school.
Thank you. So can you share more about the specific community engagement that you all as Rocketship have done within the proposed community, and what is the evidence that you use to turn that into we would be able to meet the projected enrollment targets?
Yeah, so this work began in earnest, I would say maybe 18 months ago. Some of you may remember we submitted a letter of intent in 22-23. We did not apply that year, in part because we wanted to continue to do our work to make sure we were as prepared as possible to stand up a school. Our first sort of house meeting garnered about a dozen families in the Laverne Smyrna area. Since then, we've only accelerated some of that community engagement. I believe we allude to town halls that we've held, 5 of them across the Laverne Smyrna area, at the Cedar Glen community, at the public library. We have visited Tiny Town Childcare, New Hope Learning Academy, daycares here in the community, deeply building relationships, increasing our visibility, and ensuring that folks know who we are and that we know who they are. I would also just name that much of that community engagement has been in partnership with many of our Rutherford County staff members who live here in Rutherford County, helping us to determine who are the right community members to engage with, where should we be canvassing and door knocking. And so that community engagement work has happened without any marketing, without any enrollment activity. We believe that will only accelerate when we bring the full force of Rocketship and its resources to bear here in Rutherford County, and have no doubt that we would be able to fully enroll this school to start year 1.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. Well, 2 follow-up. First is, do you all have a sense of what is your baseline enrollment needed for financial viability in year 1?
I think the target right now is 250 full enrollment. Based on our current financial models, it would be about 220. We deeply believe that starting small to grow fast is the right approach here. 220 is more than half the number of students we currently serve at our lowest enrolled school. And so we believe we'd be certainly able to fully enroll a school of 220, if not the 250.
And you, as the executive director, would love to hear, opening a new school requires staff resources, intensive resources of a network. Can you share what does that look like from a network capacity perspective to open a new school while also supporting schools and existing schools in the Nashville area?
Yeah, I think it is a unique challenge that schools who are asking for replication have to answer. It is why the portfolio review, we believe, is an important one. None of our 3 schools will be compromised as we grow and expand. We have strong leadership teams at those schools. We have a strong regional leadership team supporting those 3 schools. We believe the evidence of the academic performance of those schools supports the strength of that work. We also have a network that would support us being able to stand up a school, a strategy and growth national team, some of whom are here today, who help us to identify facilities, to market ourselves in a new community, to work through all of the startup costs and responsibilities that we will engender. We will leverage that team specifically for starting a school here in Rutherford County. It's also important to note that our school principal will be hired if granted a charter application this fall. Their sole mission is to work with that team and with the regional team to ensure that they are ready to go day one. And so we believe we have more than enough capacity to start a school, particularly one of the size that we're proposing here in Rutherford County, in a community that we believe we know very well, given the tremendous support that has already been demonstrated and the current relationships we have with staff members and community partners here in the community. So we do not expect that any of our 3 existing schools will be undermined by starting a school here in Rutherford County.
Thank you. The last part of my questions, I want to dig deeper into Rocketship Northeast performance. It was a part of the Rutherford County's decision, and I think when we as the commission are looking at the potential of a school and a network expanding, we are going to look at the performance of all the schools, particularly one that's currently in the commission's portfolio. So first I want to ask, can you share why some performance data, particularly for Rocketship Northeast, was not more fully discussed in the application's past performance section?
Yeah, so this is a helpful question, and we actually appreciate the focus on the portfolio because we too share the importance of all of our schools serving our students well. So 23-24 data for Rocketship Nashville Northeast maybe was not as fully explained in the application, in part due to time. Letter grades were released, I believe it was December 19th, 2024, right at the cusp of winter break. As I mentioned earlier, we began in earnest drafting this application, working on this application earlier in the year 2024. And so as much as we could, we sought to analyze that data, ensure that there was coherence in the narrative of our application, but we did not rush to include data that maybe could have been perceived as incomplete or that would have led to a misinterpretation of data. I also want to be clear that we fully embrace the realities of all of our schools. And it is a bit personal because as we speak, there are 50 teachers at the Rocketship Nashville Northeast campus working really, really hard to make sure that the 450 students there are getting what they deserve. We acknowledge the recent dip in performance at that school. We have diagnosed that dip. We have put in place interventions and resources to ensure that those students receive the very best. And so any sort of notion that we don't embrace the results of all of our 3 schools, we vehemently disagree. But it was a timing issue. And we hope that we've been able, through some of our engagements, to share very clearly our one understanding of the data up until recent as a week ago for 24-25, and that we are ahead of it and have a plan in place to ensure that that school returns to its days of strength.
Thank you. Given the fact that you do operate 3 schools in Davidson County, I would like to hear what is the reflection of what is different or what you all have diagnosed as different about what was happening operationally, academically at Rocketship Northeast to see the different performance as compared to the other 2 schools that you operate.
Yeah, it's a helpful question, and we've been poring over this question for some time. There are likely 2 things that stood out to us. One is leadership instability. You all likely are aware that our Dream Campus and our United Campus experienced a great deal of leadership stability over the last couple of years. Rocketship Nashville Northeast had 2 principals in 2 years. And we believe that that certainly has an impact on the level of coaching and support that teachers receive, but also on the actual experience of students in a school when there's that level of instability. We would also say that our model, which we believe works and is evidenced by the data that we shared, was inconsistently applied at Dream, particularly in math. If you look at some of our data, numeracy is actually the area where we, I believe, as recently as last year was level 2 or level 1. We're not implementing our STEM model as consistently as our other campuses. Literacy, certainly more work to do. I believe we moved to a level 4 this year in literacy, the top in the cluster. But we believe it was leadership instability and the management of that transition, but also an inconsistent implementation of the model. We deeply believe in our ability to correct both of those things, and early evidence suggests that we're doing just that at Rocketship Nashville Northeast.
Thank you. And that concludes my questions for Rocketship. We're now going to move into public comment. If someone has the clicker up there. Yeah. If I would mind you clicking to the public comment slide. So when we are now at the public comment portion. We have individuals who signed up both to speak in support of the district's decision to deny the application. We also have individuals who have signed up to speak in support of the application. Each individual will be given up to 2 minutes. You will come up to this podium to speak. Please do identify yourself for the record as you begin speaking. And once again, want to remind folks that we are accepting written comments on this appeal. Comments have to be received by the Commission by next Friday, September 26th at 10 a.m. to be considered in my recommendation. All written comments are also provided to our Charter Commission, so they receive both oral comments as well as written comments, and both of those are weighed equally. So I believe Ms. Long is not here. Is that correct? Okay. We have Isaac Dickey. You can come forward and give your comment for up to 2 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Isaac Dickey, and I'm currently a student at Central Magnet here in Murfreesboro. I'm here today not only to comment on behalf of the Rutherford County School Board, but also to voice my concerns over the proposed opening of the new Rocketship Academy. I'm a very strong believer in the power of a good education, and I've received an amazing education from this district the past 13 years. But I do believe at the same time that this education should come from our traditional public schools. Charter schools that are already here have diverted money and other resources away from our public education system. All this has done is prioritize a very small number of students while leaving 50,000 plus students in schools that receive less funding. A big argument for charter schools is that, when they open, they get teachers and principals and so on and so forth that reduce the fiscal impact on Rutherford County. But when we're looking at such a small number of students, that really doesn't cut down on the amount of staff needed at our schools. Furthermore, charter schools are clearly not held to the same accountability standards as our traditional public schools. A good example of this would be Rutherford Collegiate Prep, which was approved by this commission against the wishes of the school board and local residents. By September 9th of last year, roughly 100 students had left the school, mainly due to a total lack of leadership and accountability from the school. The circumstances that led to this many students leaving have been described as apocalyptic by parents. This is not a political issue. This is an issue that affects the future of our country. It's not time to play games and push an agenda. It's time to do what's best for our students. It's time to respect the facts of the case. It's time to respect the facts of the case, and the facts say that charter schools put strains on the local school system while providing an education that is not any better than what a student would get at a traditional public school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have, thank you, Luzanne Cardenas, Claudia Vasquez, and Emmeline Mendez. Y'all want to come on up to this podium? Thank you. And introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Luzan Cardenas, and I'm proud to call Laverne my home. We are here to join Rocket Ship and Rutherford County Schools, not in holy matrimony, but in an education. I work in Cedar Glen. I'm the office administrator at Cedar Glen. We have over 3,000 children in our community. So I think this would benefit our community because they're building homes a lot, and there's no schools. So we need more schools in our community in Rutherford County. So, and I'm here, because I have a lot of people that I speak to, 98% are Hispanic, and I speak to them, and I carry their voices here with me today because they couldn't come because they work. But don't worry, I don't hear voices, but I carry their voices with me. So, I'm going to do this, Mr. McCann. For 15 years, I worked in the cafeteria at the best Laverne elementary school that exists. Thanks to Mr. McCann, who gave me a job. And then I had to come in, and I had to trade to Cedar Glen because I was fighting cancer for the third time, and I needed something more relaxed. But then I went to Cedar Glen. But anyway, so one morning, Lupita came into the office and talked to me about Rocket Ship. And I was like, that's amazing. So I started informing, and we would work together. We were giving out information, and so many of the residents are really interested. So I think that would be the best thing for the community, not just for Cedar Glen, but for Rutherford County and Smyrna, because we need more schools. Oh my God. Who's going to take me out? Who's going to take me out?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Claudia Vasquez, Emmeline Mendez.
Good evening or good morning. My name is Emmeline Mendez. I'm a parent living in Rutherford County currently, and I'm also a Rocket Ship employee. I'm going into my 5th year as a staff member at Rocket Ship United Academy. Before I even go further, this is my daughter, Mila. I'm going into my 5th year, and over that time, I've served in several different roles. First, as a paraprofessional, supporting students with special needs, then as a small group professional reading interventionist, and a bilingual STEM teaching assistant. Today, I'm proud to serve as the lead STEM kindergarten teacher, and I'm also proud to have Mila as one of my kindergartner students. Today, I want to just hone in on that each step of my journey has shown me the power of Rocket Ship's model, especially their focus on talent development. I've been supported by coaches and colleagues who believe in me. They're the ones who encouraged me to go back to school so I could become a certified teacher. My connection is also personal. My daughter is a kindergartner at Rocket Ship, like I mentioned, and I see every day how much she is learning. She's understanding content. She enjoys going to school. And I just want to mention how her favorite classes are math and reading. She brings so many, like she remembers her day. She remembers what she learned each day. What makes Rocket Ship different is how it meets the needs of our diverse learners. Our students see themselves reflected in the curriculum and in their teachers. So I just want to say how powerful that is. As someone who grew up without representation, I know how powerful it is for a child to see leaders who look like them. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, buenos días, miembros de la mesa directiva. Mi nombre es Claudia Vázquez. Soy madre de 3 hijos y orgullosa residente de Laverne. También soy emprendedora y dueña de una barbería de nuestra comunidad.
Good afternoon, members of the board. of Directors. My name is Claudia Vasquez, and I am mother of 3 children and a proud resident of Laverne. I am also an entrepreneur and owner of a barber shop in our community.
Estoy aquí hoy porque como madre mi mayor sueño es que mis hijos reciban una educación de calidad, una que les prepare para ser independientes, responsables y contribuir positivamente a la sociedad.
I'm here today because as a mother, my greatest dream is for my children to receive a quality education, one that prepares them to be independent, responsible, and contribute positively to society.
Ese también es el deseo de muchas familias que, aunque no pudieron estar acompañándonos hoy, me pidieron que hablara su nombre. Nuestro condado está creciendo rápidamente y con ese crecimiento vienen nuevas oportunidades.
That is also the wish of many families who, although they could not join us today, asked me to speak on their behalf. Our county is growing rapidly, and with that growth comes new opportunities.
Rock Chip representa una de esas oportunidades. Es una escuela que valora la colaboración entre familias y maestros y que fomenta una comunidad cercana con los padres y ofrece aprendizaje personalizado para que cada estudiante pueda avanzar a su propio ritmo y alcance sus metas, algo que muchas familias buscamos.
Rocketship represents one of those opportunities. It is a school that values collaboration between families and teachers and that fosters close communication with parents and offers personalized learning so that each student can progress at their own pace and reach their goal, something that many families seek.
Thank you very much. Alejandra Beltran, Miles Brown, and Teresa Ava.
Good morning. My name is Alejandra Beltran, and I'm here in support of Rocketship Tennessee 4. I have been a resident of Rutherford County for almost 7 years now. It is difficult for me to believe that this is my 5th school year traveling to Southeast Nashville to teach kindergarten humanities at Rocketship United Academy, which was just approved for another 10 years. My 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th year students fill its hallways with their smiles, enthusiasm. I'm honored to be a part of their experiences at Rocketship. We are more than a building of staff and students. Rocketship schools build strong communities and welcome you like family. At Rocketship, we believe that every child deserves a high-quality education regardless of their zip code. I know firsthand how important foundational education is. I come from a working class family, and even in a low-income area, I was given a strong foundation for my academic journey. I am a proud first-generation Latina college graduate. I earned my bachelor's degree in sociology from Cal State Northridge, all through Pell Grants based off my grades. I'm currently working on my master's degree and teacher certification while getting valuable teaching experience. Rocketship has provided me a path to building a strong academic foundation for my students and would love to do the same for students in my own community. I love providing students with intentional, tailored instruction to meet them where they are through our emphasis on data-driven small group instruction. In addition to growing our students, we grow our community. I enjoy the relationships I get to build with families, especially Spanish-speaking parents, who feel an immediate sense of relief and smile as they know their children feel seen, understood, and supported. While I am still proud, I am also saddened by the amount of thriving students and families who have left our schools due to moving and not having a Rocketship campus available to them. If Rocketship opens a school in Rutherford County, I would love to be a part of it in order to continue filling hallways full of smiles and enthusiasm. It would be so meaningful to be a part of opening a school that reflects the diversity in our area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Miles Brown, and I live right here in Rutherford County. I was raised in Antioch before moving to Laverne, where I attended Laverne Middle and Laverne High School. I am now a proud resident here in Murfreesboro, near TSU. I've been teaching for 6 years, where I started at Rock Springs Elementary here in Rutherford. I was teaching 4th grade and then 2nd grade. And for the last 3 years, I've been an ESL teacher with Rocketship. One of the things that stands out to me at Rocketship is the amount of support I get to grow as a teacher. It was nerve-wracking at first to have my own principal observe me nearly every week. However, her constructive feedback vastly improved my teaching practices. That was something I was missing in my previous experience. I did not have that one-on-one coaching that I needed to become a better teacher. However, now I'm constantly learning, and that means that my students get better learning instruction every single week, because I too am also learning. But what really makes Rocketship different is the partnership for our families. We start every year with home visits, sitting in living rooms and kitchens, allowing us to get a glimpse of our students' lives outside of school. This builds trust and genuine connection, because parents know we truly care about their kids. It's because of this trust that I've had the privilege of being invited to many birthday parties and games over the years, and this allows me to see the families to see me as more than just a teacher, but also a friend. With that, I'm able to be better connected to my students and be a part of their lives. Rocketship also reflects the diversity of our students, as you've heard previously. Kids see themselves in our texts and stories that we use. This is especially true in our ESL curriculum, where we celebrate and encourage literacy, not only in English, but in also their home language. If they can read and speak in their own home languages, it only better improves their acquisition of English. This also matters in the community as diverse as Laverne and Smyrna. At the end of the day, parents are more concerned about their child's well-being and education. Do we want to provide a school that allows them to see not only the success of their students, but also to feel connected and part of the classroom every day? I believe Rocketship creates that kind of joy and believes family in Rutherford County deserve that option too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Teresa Ayala. I'm a proud parent leader at Rocketship Dream Community Prep, and I'm a part of the local organizing committee and a member of our PTA. Thank you, members of the commission, for the opportunity to speak today. I grew up in Antioch and graduated from MMPS schools. I'm a proud parent of 2 children, Sherelle, who is 8 years old, and Seamus, who is 4. Growing up, my grandfather was my guiding light and instilled the importance of several things. He wanted me to break the cycle, so growing up, he would tell me, you can do better than what's been done before you. When it came time to choose the right school for my daughter, Sherelle, I knew this decision was one of the most important my husband and I would make. My husband and I initially enrolled Sherelle in a private school because we were concerned about our neighborhood school. When Sherelle started school, she came home crying every day. Her school increased from 13 to 24 students in her class when we were told that they would not exceed 13 students. My daughter would literally cry every morning. There's no worse feeling than knowing that your child is not happy at school. That's when Rocketship caught my eye. It's less than a mile from our house, and after a little bit of internet stalking, like we really do, I was impressed by how organized and involved the community was, from the calendar, their schedules, and their Facebook page. We applied, and within 4 days, we got notified that Sherelle could start at Dream. We got a tour. We asked so many questions. They patiently answered and observed the classroom. Something in my gut told me that this was the right place. After her first day, Sherelle came home and she said, I had the best day. I was music to my ears. The next morning, she was actually excited to go back to school. Dream has given Sherelle the foundation to thrive, not just academically, but emotionally. The individualized learning of the small groups, the advanced work, has helped her grow beyond what I could hope for. As a parent, I have learned so much too. I could go on alternative goals and end up being like a pro. I know Sherelle's end-of-year goals and how she's progressing throughout the year. I'm so proud to stand involved parent at Dream. I've recommended it to my friends. With Dream, I feel confident my children will have the foundation to live out their dreams, and I can say do better than what's been done before them. My wish is for parents like myself to have Rocketship as an option in their community here in Rutherford too. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will finish with Lupe Myers and Mila Jimenez.
Good morning. My name is Lupe Davalos Myers, or as I'm known here in the community, Lupita. I serve as the Director of Community Organizing and Advocacy for Rocketship Public Schools, Tennessee. For over a year, I've been on the ground in Laverne and Smyrna, knocking on doors, sitting in living rooms, and hosting information sessions, listening to families share their hopes for their children's education. I come to this work not only as an organizer, but as a first-generation college graduate and a proud immigrant Latina. I know what it means for education to change the trajectory of an entire family. My mom, a domestic worker, my dad, a landscaping worker, like so many parents I meet here, worked long hours, but always believed education could open doors that had been closed to them. When I sit with parents here in Rutherford, whether in their kitchens, backyards, at church, or at community meetings, I see my own family story reflected back. The same sacrifices, the same hopes, the same beliefs that education can transform their children's future. Through countless one-on-one conversations, families have made their voices clear. They want another elementary, high-quality public school option in Rutherford County. I've also met with community stakeholders, neighbors, faith leaders, and local partners who see the same need and share the same urgency. Our families have shown up with courage and conviction, often rearranging work schedules and bringing their children along to meetings because they know what's at stake. They know, as I do, that great schools they don't just educate children, it strengthens and transforms entire communities. I urge you to listen to these families. They're not asking for charity, they're demanding opportunity. By approving Rocketship as an option, you are affirming the right to choose a school that meets their children's needs, and most importantly, reflects the community's voice. Thank you for your time and recognizing the power of organized families to shape the future of education in Tennessee and their local communities.
Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm sorry.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Miley Jimenez. I am now in 6th grade now, but I went to Rocketship United Academy from 2nd grade through 4th grade. My family and I moved here from Florida, and when I started Rocketship in the middle of 2nd grade, I was a little behind. By the end of the year, I had already caught up to grade level, and by 4th grade, I finished a couple grade levels ahead. Rocketship really prepared me for middle school. I attend Valor, and the standards are high, but I was ready, and I made all A's and B's my first year, and I am on track to do the same this year. I have great memories from my time at Rocketship, the science fair where I won 2nd place playing basketball and cheerleading. I even wrote and delivered a commencement speech for my 4th grade graduation. I spoke about our core values and what they meant to me: responsibility, respect, empathy, and persistence, and gratitude. These core values still help me today, but what I love most about Rocketship was how encouraged my teachers were. I'll never forget the meetings where they showed me how much I had grown. It made me want to work even harder. They pushed me to do more than I thought I could, and they always believed in me. I was excited to go to school every day because I knew my teachers cared about me. More kids should attend Rocketship schools because it's a great school to get you ready for the future. They teach you the basics, then they push you up to go further, and they don't let you give up on yourself. That's why I believe families in Rutherford County should deserve to have a Rocketship school too. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public comments. So we're now going to shift into our closing statement. So we will recognize representatives from Rutherford County for up to 10 minutes, and then we will recognize Rocketship, Tennessee for up to 10 minutes.
First of all, thank you to the Commission and members of the public in support of Rocketship School for being here today and engaging with us in this very, very important step in the process. Rutherford County Schools recognizes the time and effort expended by Rocketship Schools in the application process and greatly appreciates engaging with them in the proposal to open a new charter school in our district. As a district that is committed to parent choice and multiple options for how and where to educate their children, RCS recognizes the positive impact Rocketship education has made in many other school districts, and not just in the state of Tennessee. During the application review process, the Rutherford County Schools followed the guidelines set forth in the Tennessee State Board of Education Quality Charter Authorizing Standards and the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission's core authorizing principles by rigorously evaluating the initial and amended applications submitted by Rocketship Schools, setting high standards but attainable standards for the approval of charter schools in our portfolio, and granting charters only to the applicants that have demonstrated competencies and capacity to succeed in all aspects of their particular charter school model, consistent with stated approval criteria. The Rutherford County Board of Education's decision to ultimately deny the application for Rocketship, Tennessee, number 4, was based on the recommendation provided by the designated Application Review Committee, according to the reasons delineated in their report and presented today. RCS respectfully requests that the Charter Commission upholds the decision to deny the application based on identified areas in the application, including academic plan and capacity concerns as described, apparent lack of community support that is sufficient to ensure a successful opening year, past performance of Rocketship education schools that are not comparable to the performance of RCS schools in many areas, including those in the same area of the district. As one of the highest performing schools in the state, RCS prides itself on setting high performance standards and working hard to rise to the occasion to meet those high standards. plus enrollment challenges already experienced by current charter schools in the same geographic area of location as the proposed school indicates the addition of an additional charter school would affect not only their initial enrollment, but that of the other currently operating charter schools. Again, RCS recognizes the strong organization evident for rocket ship schools and admires their efforts to provide quality schools in areas of need for such. However, we do not feel their application at this time presented a preparedness to meet the needs of Rutherford County students. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now turn to representatives from Rocket Ship, Tennessee for a final statement, and you will have up to 10 minutes.
Thank you again to the Commission for the space today, and again to Rutherford County Schools for not just today, but the entire process. It has been a transparent one and a constructive one. I'll leave you maybe with three things. The first, I hope you see and feel the commitment of Rocket Ship and its families and supporters for a Tennessee 4 school here in Rutherford County. It is not by accident that a couple dozen families showed up today, spoke to you today, and shared with you their hopes and dreams for a school here in Rutherford County. We don't take that lightly, so thank you to the Rocket Ship families who showed up this morning. Second thing that I would leave you with is a quick sort of summary of the findings of Rutherford County. At the conclusion of this public hearing, it is clear that the weaknesses identified in the academics plan and the financial plan are all based on preferences. Social studies and science, Dr. McCann acknowledges our preferences and not requirements. SEL, life skills development, Dr. McCann acknowledges may interfere with core content. And we know that SEL and life skills are required by TDO guidance. The ESL guidebook that Dr. McCann references, noting a 12-day or a 2-week review period, that guidebook suggests that it's a best practice. It is not a requirement. The 30-day requirement is spelled out in the guidebook. So on the academic plan alone, you cannot deny based on a preference. You cannot deny based on a preference. The financial plan, also, those findings are rooted in preference. Student-teacher waiver, which is a legal innovation that we can pursue as a charter school. Social workers versus counselors are preferences that charter schools can pursue given the innovation that they uphold. Again, you cannot deny based on a preference. And so we would believe that the academic plan and the financial plan should be rated as meets or exceeds, in addition to the operations plan that the committee in Rutherford County already acknowledged as meets or exceeds. Portfolio review being the fourth aspect of the review of our application. We believe the weaknesses identified by the Rutherford County Committee focus solely on individual data points. Individual data points. And a portfolio review, by definition, should reference the track record of the full portfolio. I hope that you have felt our deep commitment to each of our existing schools when times are good and when times are not as good. The work of our staff members is to ensure steady, strong results. That is my commitment as executive director and the commitment of the entire Rocket Ship team. But the portfolio review should not fixate on one data point. It should review the full portfolio, and we ask that this commission do that as you make your recommendation to the commissioners. Finally, I will just say I've been on this job now for about 8 months. While I'm not new to Tennessee, having gone to school in West Tennessee, having worked in Middle and East Tennessee, the one thing that remains is The work of education is hard. And there aren't many folks looking to grow schools, looking to do more. The reason that Rocketship took on the responsibility and burden of analyzing Rutherford County, marshaling resources to ensure that we could present a strong application, being here in the community to hear from families, to talk to stakeholders, is because we deeply believe that this community is worthy of another high-quality option, and that Rocketship is the school to provide that option. We would respectfully ask that you reject Rutherford County's recommendation to deny and approve our appeal to the state. Thank you again for the time today, and we look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you to both parties for participation in this hearing and for your closing statement. A few final reminders as we wrap up. First, that we are accepting written comments on this appeal for the next week. As a reminder, we need to receive them by 10 a.m. Friday, September 26th, to be included in my recommendation and given to the commission. The commission will make a decision on this appeal at a meeting on October the 16th. That meeting will be in Nashville. Information about where that is, how to live stream, will be on the commission's website. Thank you all for your time today. Thank you for Rutherford County Schools for hosting us. Thank you to the members of the public who gave a comment today. And with no further business on the agenda, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you and have a great Friday.